Good morning. Happy Eclipse Day, everybody. It's me, Teri Hunter. I'm an angel therapy practitioner, intuitive astrologer, Reiki master, and empowerment coach. And I started early because lately it's been taking me forever to get in. And then, of course, I start early and I got in right away. So I'm going to give it a minute for people to join. Say hello. Hi, small wildflowers. Good morning. Good morning, Katerina. Good morning, Natalia. Good morning, Jules. Good morning, Joshua. Sending love to your mom right now. I know she's gone to see her dad. Good morning, Sacred Owl. Good morning, Posted Up. Welcome to Eclipse Day, everybody. It's very exciting. So many exciting things happening right now. I can't even keep up with it, to be honest with you. And I can't keep up with myself. I'm having the weirdest, craziest dreams lately. I don't know if all of you guys are having crazy dreams. I don't know. My ruling planet Mars is conjunct Neptune in my 12th house. So I don't know if that has something to do with it. But anyway, congratulations, your lunar return. Wow, Juan, that's very significant. It'll be interesting to see what this moon illuminates. Well, let's talk about this a little bit, okay? Now, I did a video specifically on the eclipse. So today what I'm going to focus in on is a couple of the eclipse aspects, but I also want to bring in the idea of Chiron and Venus being conjunct. They are conjunct right now at 14 degrees in Aries. By the time we have this eclipse this evening at 9:14 Pacific time, Venus will have crossed over Chiron and she'll be at 15 degrees Aries. So I think this is very powerful because Venus rules our money, our self-worth. She rules our possessions. She rules beauty, makeup, art. And being with Chiron is that wound that we bring into this experience that we as a soul intend to address on some level. And it's a wound that is not easily resolved. And this is what I was thinking about because I'm fascinated by Chiron. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the legend of Chiron, but Chiron is the child of Philyra and Cronus, aka Saturn. And at the time, Cronus, aka Saturn, was lusting after Philyra. He turned himself into a stallion and they mated. She got pregnant and had a rather challenging childbirth, and the child comes out half horse, half man. She's horrified and shamed and abandons Chiron. Chiron is then adopted by Apollo and taught how to heal, taught about music and poetry. And Artemis, Apollo's twin sister, teaches him how to hunt and how to, what's the other word I'm looking for? Hunt and murder my notes. Hold on, I got it here. Archery. That's the other thing is archery. I think that's very important because ultimately in an unfortunate accident, Hercules wounds Chiron. And this is a wound that's a nick from an arrow, and it's very painful for Chiron. So Chiron spends eternity as a demigod being unable to heal his own wounds. He also is conflicted between human reason and animal instinct. And I think that this is all about balance. I think when we look at Chiron, we're looking at a wound that really is not meant to be healed. It's not meant to be evaporated. It's not meant to be released. It's meant to be something we look at and we use it as a tool of empowerment. So if Chiron could get past his pain and look at the idea that rather than being raised by a mother who felt shame about him, he was raised by a set of twins who embraced him, who taught him, to embrace his obviously animal instincts in hunting, and archery adding the human element of reason and strategy. And all of these things came down to make this energy of Chiron a very unique and special and very high vibrational. He could never be like everybody else because Chiron's bloodline did not afford him the herd animal experience. And ultimately, when Chiron gave up his mortality for Prometheus, and we're going into a lot of mythology here, but Zeus placed Chiron in the stars in the constellation of Sagittarius. I think all of this is so important because where I'm going with this is as Venus is sitting in Aries, asking us to be brave and courageous in how are we going to address our wounds. This is a transit, and some people are experiencing Chiron in return. I personally have my Chiron in Aquarius, so Saturn is making some aspects to it. But what I wanted to address here on this eclipse day is that it's a release of some kind. And Scorpio represents what's unseen, what's beneath us, what's hidden, what's toxic. And where can we use that information, not to run, not to try to release or exterminate or be free of, but how can we transform that into a tool that actually empowers us, either to avoid a situation that feels similar or to hone a skill of some kind, a skill of our instinct, our animal instinct versus our human reason. So I think this is a super important transit to pay attention to right now, in addition to the idea that the eclipse is at 25 degrees Scorpio, 3 degrees away from the nodal structure right now. And we know from our studies that the nodal structure is where we see karmic points in the soul's journey. So we have an opportunity to look at this eclipse. What is it asking of us in the way of not releasing a wound, but how can we illuminate the situation? How can we triumph over it? How can we find our power within the situation? So, anyway, so I think this is very, very powerful. Depending upon the sign and the house and the planet structure around Chiron, I think it's going to be very indicative of what the situation was and what you're working on. When I look at my personal Chiron, it's at 22 degrees Aquarius, and it makes an aspect to an opposition to my Uranus in Leo at 20 degrees. And I think those are very interesting dynamics, because it says a lot about my big mouth and me opening my mouth and saying things that might be controversial in past lives that got me in trouble. And when I look at the rest of my chart, I see a lot of that as a theme. I have warrior energy, but I tend to war with words. That's what it looks like for me. I have a lot of Mercury, Gemini degrees. So I think that's super interesting. So I want to, again, I did a separate video, so you can go and look specifically at that video from your rising sign, how that will affect you. But for the purposes of this week and how we can sort of set an intention, I want you to be mindful that this eclipse is making a square to Saturn. Saturn is currently transiting Aquarius. So how can we look at that square and say what friction between the old and what has been sitting underneath? Because this is what I want to say. Saturn rules the old. Aquarius rules revolution. Saturn is a heavy energy. The eclipse is in Scorpio, which is what is sitting beneath me. What has power over me that I am not willing to address? That's kind of how I want to put it. And I don't want to say that I suddenly have to go to war over that power. I think it's just the acknowledgement, because usually it's fear So if we see Saturn at 24 degrees Aquarius making a square to the eclipse, we're seeing a heavy, fearful energy. I might be afraid to take action in some way. Then we see Neptune and Mars making a trine. Now, this could be where I feel confused. Neptune rules. It's so funny. When I started to get ready today, a whole fog bank came in. It's since looks like it might have cleared a little bit, but I thought it was so interesting because here it is, Mars taking action, and there's Neptune kind of ruling confusion and fog and not being able to see clearly. So we're being called upon to go into our instinctual body, that Scorpio energy of what is sitting underneath it. Only my intuition, only my feelings are really going to indicate. And now we have Pluto, making so many aspects in so many ways. Pluto representing life-changing opportunities, and Pluto's at 28 degrees, making a sextile to the eclipse. So all of these things are going to come in not to, I don't want to say they're here to depress us, to punish us, but I feel like our souls have picked this time to come into this experience, to look at our challenges, to look at our problems, to look at the things that we have felt have tripped us up in the past, and now to transform them into tools that give us power, to start to see them as, if I hadn't gone through that challenge, I wouldn't feel the resource to be able to handle this particular mountain I want to climb, or this endeavor. I think that this is a very important time for those of us that are aware to really take spiritual inventory and then mental action on what is our deepest truth to our happiness, and then connect with spirit to start to reveal how that desire can manifest in the physical world. I think this is super important. So, do we have a new person in? Abigail. Hello, Abigail. Welcome, welcome. You have Chiron in Taurus in the 5th house. The North Node is in the 8th house, and so is Venus. Very interesting. So Taurus is your 5th house, and you have the North Node transiting Taurus right now, and we have the Sun sitting in your 5th house. So I would think in some ways this could have a lot to do with, the 5th house naturally rules children, enjoyment, fun, and pleasure. Taurus is about my possessions. It's about my skills, my voice. So I wonder if there's something about you expressing yourself either through a singing voice or a speaking voice, or your skills in some way. And this eclipse is going to illuminate an opportunity to do just that. And you may be feeling a sense of real voraciousness, a real drive to make that happen right now. That North Node is going to put some real gas on the fire of wanting something to happen, wanting to move forward. And of course, fun. And let me offer this in general to all of you. Oftentimes when the human gets into a crisis, into a trauma, into a challenge, we spend so much time trying to focus in on how to get out of the problem. And sometimes that inadvertently puts more energy into the problem, hence kicking in the laws of attraction. And then, why does this always happen to me, comes out of our mouth. So now I think if we cannot see the solution in any way, enjoy, have fun, spend time doing something you find mindless, whether it's a puzzle or a crossword puzzle or going for a run, anything that where your mind and your body can interact on an enjoyment level. And this will help break the energy up and then allow inspiration through. So, oh, Abigail, then if I indeed said that, then Spirit is nudging you. You've come to this live for the first time. We welcome you as a tribe. We're a very close-knit tribe. I'm sorry to hear that you lost your only child to cancer, but I want to offer that this is a very high vibrational experience to go through something like that. And maybe part of your healing is to allow yourself to sing and to speak from, I want to almost say, an inspired place, because I really don't believe in death. So as your grief starts to lift and your connection to spirit opens up, the soul of that child has an opportunity to connect with you and inspire you and to let you know that they're still here. And I don't know if you're of childbearing years, but I'm not quite sure you're done having children. I just got that message. All right. I don't do personal messages. So let's go on to our readings. I mean, I do personal messages, but not on this show on Sunday mornings. But anyway, okay. So we are going to start with our Pisces and work our way towards Aries. As usual, and Abigail, since you're new to the group, I like to focus in on the moon. I believe that the moon is so integral because it is our emotional body, and our emotional body is how we step out into the world. It's how we start to manifest. If we wake up in a bad mood and we step out on the street, what do we see? All the things that are wrong on the street: people driving too fast, the poop on the sidewalk, blah, 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 blah. If we're in a good mood, we tend to look towards the ocean and, oh, look at the ocean, look at the beautiful palm trees. Everything comes from our emotional body. So I love to go there first. Then I think it's the rising sign, because our rising sign is our perception. It is our natural viewpoint of the world, the glass half full, glass empty. I still need to go to the cupboard to get a glass. It's hard to find a glass, whatever that is. And then our sun, because our sun is something that we project out into the world. And I think it's something, at least for me personally, as an Aries rising and a Libra sun, I'm always stretching to be more Libra-like. And as I connect with spirit in my meditations and I start to identify the things that I want, I end up letting go of those individual things and focusing more on, I want to be and feel at peace. I want to be and feel at peace with what works and what doesn't appear to work, what feels warm and fuzzy and what doesn't feel warm and fuzzy. I want to feel peace. So as we feel peace, then we take off the resistance. As resistance lessens, then manifestation happens quicker and quicker and quicker. And one more thing I'm going to say for Abigail. Don't know why. Apparently, Spirit wants to chat with you this morning because I am getting quite a few things for you. They're telling me that, yes, I do believe another child is coming for you, and that the astrological dynamics that have been going on created a situation where there may have been a delay in a new child and why the first child chose to leave. There's something about you transforming as a result of that first experience that will allow you to be more authentic in subsequent experiences. And if for some reason you don't bring a child through naturally through your own body, which I tend to think you will, then you will have influence over that. And sing, please sing. I feel like this is a connection to spirit. I feel like the baby on the other side, baby has kind of a strong energy. I wonder if it was a boy. But I feel as if baby loves to hear you sing. So whatever that is, sing, because it doesn't feel like you're singing hymns or church hymns. It almost feels like you're singing, I'm going to be crazy right now, Disney songs. I feel like I'm hearing Frozen and I'm hearing Mulan and just all sorts of Disney songs. Anyway, all right, I'm going to go on and we're going to start with our Pisces. I pulled pre-pulled tarot cards for each sign, and our tarot card for our Pisces is the Two of Pentacles. And the first thing I want to say about this is flexible. Let's be flexible. We can see in the background, the water is going up and down. We have ships in the distance, ships in the forefront. And this sort of plays to this idea that this Pisces is ruled by Neptune. Neptune is conjunct Mars, and action may feel slightly muddied, confusing, wanting to take action, and yet at the same time having this little Pisces intuition that's saying, I shouldn't take action right now. Remember, we're in a Mercury retrograde, and I feel as if there's an opportunity to review. And let's think about the idea that Pisces rules the the 12th house. The 12th house rules hospitals and research. And so I want to offer it this way because there may be some research or something that has to do with a revelation or something that comes to light that allows you a more clear action moving forward. So I kind of want to say, I got distracted by Abigail. Everly was a girl. Was she a strong girl? I'm so bad with freaking genders, I will tell you, because look at what genders are doing. There's no longer gender, there's energy. Anyway, all right. So overall for Pisces, this is a time to be flexible and flexible about, that could be about how resources are coming in. It may feel a little choppy right now, but more than anything, I feel as if it's flexible in taking action right now. There's something about connecting with spirit or allowing spirit to inspire you in a way that will make your action more fruitful or more powerful or more influential if indeed you wait for that illumination to come. So let's see where we go when we go into our 4-card spread with the angels. Ooh. And I want to offer this too, because as I go into the energy for Pisces, I feel like I'm getting this idea that there may be I almost feel as if at this moment, there may be information that comes through that feels like somebody is giving Pisces information and they're saying that this information is solid. This is the information. This is the information. And I think you should take a moment and not necessarily react to the information. Be flexible, especially if it has something to do with material resources, because I think no matter what the person tells you or what the situation is, it will change. And this eclipse may illuminate that. So don't let anybody freak you out. All right, our first angel is Layla. The second is Bridget. The third is Archangel Raphael, and the final is Azure. And as I say that, my personal apartment building was sold about a year ago. And one of my neighbors has a tendency to always kind of think about things in the more challenging way. Oh, the rent's going to go up. Oh, they're going to do this. Oh, they're going to do that. And when I talk to him, I'm like, don't tell me that. I don't, I'm neutralizing your energy. It could be Pisces, something like that, where somebody's coming in and they're giving you this information or they're saying a scenario and they're starting to give you a little like a try not to listen. Okay. And I don't mean it in it like ignore them and be rude. I mean it in a don't let their fear slime you. We have Saturn, fear, and heaviness squaring the eclipse. Okay. Layla and the perception card are being joined together. Bridget and the king are being joined. Archangel Raphael and the love card are coming. Azure and the raven. Okay, so this kind of plays out. I never know why I say what I say, especially when there's a large group of people who could potentially watch this. Because Layla is telling you to connect with spirit with your intentions. And there's the perception card. And that takes me right back to this Two of Pentacles. The Two of Pentacles would be, more of the Capricorn energy. Okay. With the 2, 3, and 4 of the Pentacle suit have a Capricorn-y energy to me. So now there's this need to be flexible as Capricorn is squaring this eclipse and you become aware of your perception. And if you jump up into a feeling of being sad or depressed, don't even try to fight it, but you don't have to give it life either. It's like, oh, I'm going through one of those phases, or the stars are doing something. More so now than ever before, I literally have clients who do not study astrology, and they'll say to me, oh my gosh, yesterday at 4:00, my son just had a meltdown. And I will see that a planet moved from one sign to another within their chart. It's so amazing to me because I think this is part of what Spirit is saying for Pisces. Look deeper into a situation, because justice is coming. Balance is coming, but we can't really have balance without the identification of the imbalance. So now your job is to focus in on, and I say love, but I don't mean it like love of another person, as much as I'm kind of going back to the idea of transforming our challenges into tools, to, rather than trying to expect the human experience to be some sort of beach, sitting there with a cocktail and there's never a problem. You would never really enjoy life that way. It is this series of going up and down that makes us feel powerful as we find our own equilibrium within it. Because for Pisces, Azure says your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith and don't try to force it. And here's the Raven. And the Raven is about synchronistic events. And we are co-creators in this lifetime. We are not 100% responsible for everything. We go through these series of banging around within, human experiences with other people, within our everyday lives. The stars are influencing us, and all of these things are to help us hone the sort of Chiron animal instinct with the human reason. The animal instinct is really more aligned to spirit than it is to the human reason. So I feel as if we come here for the topsy-turviness. We come here for the challenges, and we kind of look at it as, like, I almost feel sometimes like when we're in out of body, that we're very Aryan and we're like thrill seekers, and we're like, I can do it. And then we get here and we're shrouded under this heavy, dense energy and everybody else's opinions, and we forget. So I kind of want to offer it this way for Pisces. This particular lunar eclipse, which is going to have far-reaching, 6 months. Eclipses have the ability to reach out for 6 months and influence us. So where is your perception? Are you being flexible? Are you being too flexible? Because now is time to implement balance. And maybe some of that balance is allowing the natural time alone that Pisces needs, that time to be in the bedroom, to have a massage, to be in the ashram, to be at the retreat, that time alone for reflection, because what you want will happen. And part of it is the universe aligning things for you. Again, synchronistic events. So if indeed you've wanted to fall in love, if indeed you've wanted to have a child, if you've wanted to move, have any experience you've been wanting to have, first you get to look at the vibration with which you've been declaring it. Because if you're declaring it from frustration or from lack because it hasn't happened yet, then you're putting a cog in the wheel. And I know it's not easy to do that. I know it's not easy to look at lack and then say, but I feel so abundant. That's where you give life to, I'm a human right now. I'm sitting in this human experience. Thank you for giving me experiences for me to anchor in that intuitive spiritual knowledge. All right, let's go on to our Aquariuses. The Four of Swords. Wow, this is about rest. And I want to offer it this way because, Aquarius by nature, this is moon, rising, sun, and stelliums. Stelliums is 3 or more planets, especially personal planets. If you look at the outer planets, they're generational. So I'm really talking personal. But look at this. If you look in the background, there's a stained glass. There's that feeling of Jupiter, that feeling of Sagittarius. It's right there, that feeling of connecting with a higher force than my own. But I can only do it if I rest. If on some level I put my sword down, and I don't mean the sword of war, I mean the sword of contemplation. The swords represent the air element. The 2, 3, and 4 are always going to represent the cardinal element of whatever that sign is. So here we're seeing the Libra air. And there's something about balance. I personally have found that I don't know how to really enjoy a day off anymore because my social life as I've aged is different. People are at different stages. We don't go to Sunday brunch anymore. I don't go out on Friday nights. And so there's a weird feeling sometimes of not truly giving myself rest. Um, and rest in the form of play, rest in the form of taking my mind off of my worries, rest in the form of getting out of the news. Aquarius, it's important for you to give it a rest. And I want to offer this too, because as an Aquarius rising, if I remember correctly, because I don't have the my little chart, Scorpio is your 10th house. So if you've had concern or worry about what's going on in as the South Node is transiting your 10th house, and your career may be feeling stalled or some sort of loss or some sort of depletion, then it's an opportunity for you to look and to recalibrate if you're still operating on what is making you happy, or is there something going on, Aquarius, where you're just being driven by the bus of your life versus driving the bus yourself? Okay, here we go. So, Four of Swords is the tarot card for Aquarius, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. And I would think on some level for Aquarius, as you are your Aquarius rising, Saturn transiting your first house is going to make you feel, maybe tired or not so motivated, maybe even slightly depressed. And then you've got the South Node transiting your 10th house. This could be really, in order for you to feel, I just got chills everywhere, for you to feel inspiration, you may have to give it a rest. Lucky, what are you doing back there, Buzz? Lucky, what you doing? My dog is the funniest. I don't even know what to say anymore about this dog. Such a funny dude. All right, Aquarius, our first angel is Isaiah. The second is Rosetta. The third is Indriel. And the final is Mystique. Whoa. Where is he going? I think he's going back there to lick his paws. I think he's going back there so I can't see him do it. Oh my goodness. I just have to surrender. Okay, here we go. Aquarius, Isaiah and the butterfly are together in the foundational position. Rosetta and the lady of the lake are in the opportunity or the obstacle. Indriel and the letting go card are in the angel's advice. And the owl is joining Mystique in the final position. So the butterfly for me is very Platonian. I mean, if we think about it, this caterpillar dies. What it doesn't know is going to be it dies at death, but it also gives life to something it can't possibly fathom. And there's Isaiah showing us that we're being protected during this time. And I feel as if for my Aquarius, this is really an opportunity to rest. Your greatest inspirations will come from stop trying to push on something. I feel as if, we can be sitting in a social setting, we can be sitting in a bar, we can be sitting at a park. And for all intents and purposes, it looks like we're having a good time, we're out and about, and yet inside our mind, we could be completely somewhere else. And I feel as if this, for my Aquarius, I think it's super important to be present for some reason, to be mindful, because if you are in this sort of place where you're looking out at something and you're going, I should be enjoying this more, then in your mind's eye, say to Spirit, thank you for watching over me and protecting me and giving me the courage to transform. And that transformation isn't always about me jumping up and taking action, but rather allowing myself the opportunity to truly rest. If you're experiencing a lot of restriction right now because of the two aspects I mentioned, we won't even talk about the rest of your chart, then this is really an opportunity to get out of the idea that Aquarius rules science. So logic may take over at some point. I've got to move forward. I've got to, push, because here is Rosetta and the Lady of the Lake in the opportunity of the obstacle. Now, Rosetta will talk about parenting and guiding, but I don't think so right now. I really think this is about the inner child. I really feel like this is the courage to sit here and hold Excalibur, the sword of your truth, ever so. Look at her. She's not holding that sword hard. She's holding it easily, effortlessly, and the storm is going on. The world right now is in a storm. And the world has always been in a storm, but we are living at this time. This is the storm we are walking through that we are aware of. So to me, this is really about, can I do anything right now? Or can I just sort of turn away from the storm? Because in the angel's advice, we have the letting go card and we have Indriel. Indriel is the light worker. And I believe all of us are energy beings. We all have a light that we shine. And the more conscious we are, the brighter our light shines. The letting go card, as most of you know, is let it go from the movie Frozen. It's funny how some distance makes everything look small, and the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. That's what this is. Your opportunity is to trust your truth and not try to take action on it right now, but rather, Aquarius, give it a rest so that inspiration can come through. Because there's mystique. Keep charging ahead. Expect miraculous solutions. And there's the owl. The owl represents wisdom. And I want to offer it this way, because wisdom never comes from an easy journey. Wisdom comes from a tough journey that one has processed and extracted the wisdom from it. So I want to say this. I feel so strongly that as Aquarius gives a rest to pushing or trying to recuperate something, if you've lost something and you're trying to gain it back, maybe it's not about gaining it back. Maybe it's about taking a rest because you don't really even want that back anymore. 19 years ago, I went through this transit of the nodes and I moved to North Carolina in an insane moment to open a spiritual bookstore in the Bible Belt. Did I do my research? No. Did I think about it? No. In my typical Aries fashion, I got an idea and I shot across the universe and moved to North Carolina. A year later, I moved home because it was not the best idea. But did I gain wisdom as a result of that? Did that situation create a death? Yes, but it also birthed the truth of who I am. And it was in North Carolina that I did my first psychic reading. Who would have thought in the Bible Belt I did my first public reading? And when I came home, I was more determined than ever to be me. So Aquarius, that's what all of this is about. And if there's a stall, then somewhere you're not truly being authentic to you, but you're trying to create the new you on an old foundation. And while the old foundation doesn't need to be thrown out, if you're standing on a crack, you need to fill the crack and move to the next square. All right, let's go into our Capricorns, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, our little baby goats. Okay, I really want a new table. Every night I look on Etsy and I look in tables and I want a new table. And when it shakes, I really want a new table. Okay, Capricorn, what is your tarot card? Dun, 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 dun. Oh, this is a fun one. The star. Now let's just look at this for a minute, because actually this star represents an Aquarian energy. It represents balance and vulnerability. As we see, this woman is naked. We see the stars are, she's got a certain amount of trust in that right hand that's behind her. She's looking and she's pouring the majority of her attention into what she can see, but she also knows it's important to nurture what she cannot see. And I think that's the new version of herself. And I think that is what Pluto transiting Capricorn has been doing since 2008, is giving you an opportunity, and all the cardinal signs, because we know that if it was in Capricorn, it's opposing Cancer, and then there's the squares to Aries and Libra. But I want to say it this way. This Pluto, I really believe that Pluto is your friend. I know people talk about it's so malefic. Oh, it's going to burn you up. Well, not burn you up. Mars will burn you up. It's going to kill you, and it's going to bring up all the dark, toxic stuff. Well, you know what? You cannot live happily if you're living on toxic stuff. So is Pluto really bad, or is Pluto really your friend? I think Pluto's your friend. Now, how brave are you to allow yourself to have a friend that won't let you sit on shit? Pardon my language, but here you go. All right, Capricorn, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Now let's say this, Capricorn, because if you are sitting on a stoic situation where you're doing something either in a relationship or a job or living in a situation that you don't enjoy, that's where Pluto becomes hard, because Pluto's like, look, I can tell you, you're not happy. And you're like, no, I'm happy. Well, I'm not really happy, but I'm happy enough. Pluto's like, no, I don't want just happy enough. I want happy, like I'm crazy happy all the time. So let's see what the star wants for you. Maya is giving you a schooling and education. Bridget's asking you to look deeper. Astera is telling you to reach for the stars. And Athena is saying to assert your loving power towards what you want. All right, let's go on. This is Capricorn, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. You know, 145 Club, I can't help myself, because you know what? I think it's the human's natural predisposition to look at everything from the dark side. And what do we do if we apply the laws of attraction? If we're looking at the dark side, we're bringing the dark side. And then we victimize ourselves to the dark side. And being an Aries rising, I know I have a warrior's mind. I mean, I honestly, and then I was reading about Taurus yesterday, and I know that Taurus doesn't let go of its history, but it was like almost made me laugh about it yesterday, because it's so prevalent in me. And a lot of people in my life have a Taurus moon, but they don't have it in the same house I do. And so they process it different. Astrology is amazing. All right, Capricorn, Maya is teaching you about inspiration and optimism. Hello. Bridget is asking you to look deeper into this transformation. Astera is saying she's being joined by the dragon, which is about power and strength. And then we have the eagle in the final position. I had to look and see if he was licking. I don't think he is. All right. So look at this, Capricorn. The star is really about faith. It rules Aquarius. It rules reaching for something that's way outside of what I believe I can experience. And I find this so interesting, because when I look at it, there's 7 small stars, but the 8th star, the big yellow one, is to me, the 8 number is the number of prosperity. The yellow is my power and strength. And this is where my core comes from. And I have to be vulnerable to all the other little stars in my universe as I let my star shine the brightest. Because Capricorn, you're learning about how to be inspired and not just live a stoic, dutiful life. This is where you take all of the challenging aspects when they're going in the wrong direction. Oh my God, I need to go do this because I need to pay my bills. But no, now you're like, you know what? If I'm going to have to work in this world, I'm going to pick a fun job. I'm going to pick something that I think is cool. That's what's going on now. And that's what Pluto's been doing for the last, 2008, you do the math. I can't do the math, because here is Bridget asking you to look deeper into this transformation. And I want to offer it this way, because if you've not been happy, and most people, they chime into their unhappiness over and over again, and they at some point they victimize themselves to their unhappiness. I know I do it. I'm like, oh, if only people were like this, then I'd be so much happier. But they aren't. People are what they are, because now it's time to start to focus on what it is you really love and what you want to love. Not if you've loved it already. This isn't about if you've loved it already. There's vulnerability in this star. There's putting energy, emotional energy, into what is behind you, what is unseen. This right here is super important. And if you look at the way her body is placed, she's actually stronger on this side of her body. She's got more balance. Here, she's in a more precarious place. So as Capricorn is sitting in this, I'm reaching for the stars with my dreams and desires, and I'm just going to be calm. I'm just going to take it one little thought at a time, because now Spirit is going to start to lead you through this sense of inspiration, and your job is to take action. So this is the thing. Oftentimes, when we want something new, we will talk about it and we'll muse about it. And then if you're a Capricorn and you have put enough effort into talking about what you want, there'll come a fork in the road when you'll have to choose between what you want and where you've been. And you'll see all the realistic stuff and the logical stuff of where have you been. Oh, I make $500 a week. I know that'll pay my rent. I can't go anywhere or do anything and have a life, but it'll pay my rent. And then over here is an opportunity where I don't know if I'll make that $500. I may make $5,000. I may only make $50. And you're going to go through this sort of kind of back and forth. And this is where you get to look and go, hey, I'm a Capricorn. I rule leadership, man. I can do this. I got that goat energy. And all I really have to do is find the solid in the unseen, to find the solid balance in what my emotional body wants that isn't in the material world yet. Boom. This is, and I don't say, I could purport all of this is like sort of fanciful. Oh, this is all so fun. No, this is real. And at this moment, each one of us as souls has an opportunity to anchor into these energies and truly represent manifestation in a whole different way. You guys watch me all the time. I study history because I'm totally into all the past life stuff in the chart. And I have to know history in order to be able to do that well. And it amazes me how many people that, or races that have been oppressed throughout history also have people within that race who represented bounty and flourishing and prosperity within those oppressive dynamics. Part of that was their soul choosing that dynamic to represent and then staying on course. That's what Capricorn can do. Stay on course. All right, let's go on. We're going on to Sagittarius. And your tarot card, Sagittarius, is the wonderful Chariot. The Chariot rules victory. It's ruled by the moon. You can see the moon on this warrior's shoulders. We can see the star canopy above his chariot. We see the sphinxes representing polarization in many ways. And so I want to offer this because as a Sagittarius, and I kind of talked about Chiron earlier in the beginning of the broadcast, there are certain wounds that we cannot always seek a healing. We cannot look to release them. We cannot look for them to go away. We just have to find a way to give them purpose. And in that purpose, something shifts. Because to me, for Sagittarius, the truth of this is this warrior is an intuitive person. He trusts something that's happening inside the stars, and he's looking for the wisdom between the black and the white, the dark and the light. There's something else coming to me, and I think it has to do with these red roofs. Do you see the little castles in the background? I feel almost as if the tops of the roof almost feel like the color of the base chakra. And yet there they are at the roof. So it almost feels like this chariot is offering me an elevated experience in how I feel secure in the earthly experience, because my sight has changed. My perception is different. My seeking of the wisdom through my intuitive body and really connecting the intuitive with the human's instinct to rationalize and be logical. Okay. Sagittarius, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. What's going to happen for you this week? One, 4, 5 club. You're absolutely right. So many of these transits don't come around. Like we know that the couple of years ago, the Saturn Pluto thing up in Capricorn only happens like once every 200 years. Once every 166 years, Jupiter and Neptune meet in Pisces. There are a lot of transits that only happen not within decades, but within centuries. And that's why I feel like this is so powerful right now, because the United States is having its Pluto return, and that's making an opposition to its 8th house of Cancer. And there's a lot of planets in that 8th house of Cancer for the United States. So this is really an opportunity to move the story forward with more awareness and consciousness rather than idealism and dreamy. All right, Sagittarius, the chariot, offering you wisdom, offering you intuitive victory as you look at the polarization. It feels like it's offering you a level of almost raising the bar a little bit on the baseline of how you feel secure. Let's see. Your first angel is Layla. The second is Bridget. The third is Rochelle. And the final is Archangel Michael. Okay, so this is what I want to say for everybody, but for Sagittarius, because it looks to me like there's a little bit of a. I want to look at, when I look at this spread, the first thing I think is Sagittarius. Oh, I know what I want. I know my heart. And then I feel like Spirit's going, whoa, 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 whoa. Slow your roll, Sagittarius. Look again. Look again. Because you may be thinking you want something, but is it somehow holding you not quite where you want to go? Let's see. Layla and the Goblin are together. Bridget and the Letting Go card are here. The Protection card and Rochelle. And Archangel Michael and the Forgiveness card. Okay, so this is what I'm going to say for my Sagittarius is, I have, many of you who watched me for a while, know that I was on Lotta's channel and that I left her channel. And I had certain hopes for that, for my career and being part of her channel. And that didn't happen for me. And it's been very interesting to watch me process that, because my ego wanted to be angry about it because I didn't get what I went for. But if I'm brave to be the peaceful warrior, to look at the polarity, what was the platform that I was creating that dynamic on? Because it was not authentic to what I really wanted. So here we go. Because Layla is asking you, where are you edging God out? Or where are you holding yourself small? Because you say you want one thing, but are you wanting it because it's actually the truth of what you want? Or do you think it's going to take you somewhere if you're tucking underneath? If we think about Sagittarius as a mutable sign, mutable signs are cooperative with others. And so to me, I feel like there could potentially be something that you've been endeavoring, and this lunar eclipse may illuminate some imbalance or some toxicity within that isn't aligned to the truth of what you want. Because I think somehow you're disempowering yourself. That letting go card makes me feel like fear is running you. And there's Bridget. And when I look at what I created on Lotta's channel, I think if I'm to be very, very frank and honest with myself, I wanted to be on her channel because I didn't think people would like me. And if I was on her channel, maybe they would like me more. And I found that to be not the truth. And that was where I was holding myself small. And this is where I've done my whole life. And if I'm really willing to look deeply and to look thoroughly into how I have cooperated in my own disempowerment, because you're being protected right now from getting things that you think you want that you don't want. And if I think about it, when there was a situation where I don't know how many of you watch Lotta's channel. I know some of you do. She's recalibrated her channel. And what I have come to realize is that, there was starting a re-engaging of the relationship. And the truth is, I am not aligned to my power within that situation. I don't want to villainize her. Don't want to make her a bad person or anything like that. But it's not the truth for me, because I hold myself small in comparison to that energy. Because here is Archangel Michael protecting you and asking you to have the courage to take on this reconciliation. Where have you held yourself small, Sagittarius? Where have you said that you weren't good enough and you tucked under some sort of relationship that doesn't really serve how great and how big and how influential you can really be? And I feel as if sometimes the human is not trained to applaud themselves. The human is, you're conceited. Oh, you're so big. You're whatever, we're constantly being dumbed down. And I feel like, Sagittarius, it's time for you to dumb up. It's time for you to raise the bar. It's time for you to know that your dreams are being stoked and they're being fostered, and you get to get out of the way of them. And I feel like it's about really digging deep into, if you've experienced disruption, because you just went through this whole South Node going through your sign last year, and maybe you experienced a loss there that you're still recovering from, and now it's time to look at it and say, well, maybe that loss isn't as big a loss as I thought it was, because maybe it was time for me to really hold myself to who and what I can be. And I won't know if I keep tucking myself underneath something else. That's where I'm going with that. So, because the ego is never really about the way this looks. It's never really about the sourness. It always feels like it's edging God out. And while there is a sourness initially, when I look deeper and I see that I'm edging God out, then what I don't know is what God can do when I get out of the way. All right. Because I think we're afraid to be small. We're afraid to be big. We're afraid to be everything that makes us happy, because the minute we get happy, something bad's going to happen. And then when we're miserable, all we want is to be happy. I mean, honestly, the human experience is like a freaking roller coaster ride of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Okay, here we go. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. It was very foggy this morning, so I didn't even attempt to dry my hair, because I just would have looked like Rosanna Dana. All right, let's look and see Sagittarius. Now we go to Scorpio. Here's your moon. And look at this, the 10 of Cups. All right, so I'm going to scare you a little bit, because we know this is a lunar eclipse. So it's bringing the culmination of a cycle, something that started with the new moon last November in Scorpio. And this is an opportunity to feel happiness, to feel joy, and to feel the security of it. Now, let me offer it this way, because I believe that there is when I look at this, I almost feel like it's really not looking at what has been toxic in my life, but actually celebrating what is replacing it. Because we know that poop starts off as what, but when it is composted, it turns into manure. Manure in the garden turns into something that makes our flowers grow. So something is going on. And Scorpio, being a fixed sign, I feel like this is time to celebrate the manure. Not in a cuckoo way, not like, oh, yay, bring it on. It's more just like, okay, I can do that. I'm willing to be brave. I'm willing to see that Pluto loves me. My ruling planet loves me. It's really not trying to ruin my life. It's really not trying to kill me. It's just trying to make me be more authentic to my truth and my happiness. Okay. Let's see what's going to make you so happy. Adriana is leading you towards answers to your prayers. Victory is coming in the form of Omega. Seraphina is in the angel's advice, and then Merlina is in the final position. For those of you of childbearing years who've had any sort of challenges with children, please think of it as your little children are souls. And, you know, many of them do not want to come in with some of these conjunctions because it's very challenging. So they're like, well, I think I'll wait a little bit. Hello, Gemini moon. Welcome. All right. Adriana is being joined by the cat. Omega is being joined by the dragon. Seraphina is being joined by the frog, and Merlina is being joined by the love card. Okay, so I really want to offer this because I feel as if this is a huge transformation that doesn't feel like it's just been like since last November. I want to offer it this way because I feel like Scorpio has been going through a transformation for a lot longer than that. And what's happening now over the last 6 months and the 6 months that will follow coming up will be evidence of this transformation. Because when I look at this, I feel like you're starting to embrace a new life. I feel as if, you know, Pluto or Scorpio in general rules other people's money. You know, we think of it as you know, stockbrokers and inheritances and taxes, and you know, there's a lot of power and control going on here as a result of money, and it also rules sex. It rules the occult. I feel as if this is giving Scorpio an opportunity to feel a new life and a sense of independence. So if you have been in a relationship that made you feel disempowered, I think some things are going to come to light that will actually make you feel celebratory. And I say this because I feel as if Scorpio is learning how to use their power in a way that I don't have to pull out my stinger. I don't have to go all batshit on you crazy. I know how to stand and hold my victory because now I know that my cool head is what creates my happiness. Let me offer it this way, because I don't think of Scorpio as a sheepish sign, but there's certain people that I know that are Scorpio. And if you're, you know, Scorpio in the 12th house, you may not be that powerful of a Scorpio. You know, you may feel a bit diminished in your power, but I want to offer it this way because I think what Spirit is saying is that if there is something that is interrupting your happiness, that this full moon lunar eclipse is going to illuminate it, and you're going to say, no more. I don't want to do that anymore. And it doesn't mean you have to exterminate that situation from your life as much as now you're going to start to give life to the idea that, hey, what about me? What makes me happy within a situation? Because the frog represents the cleaning of our emotional house, and there is Seraphina offering you new happiness and joy. And it comes as a result of you I don't want to always say lovingly, because this is not about being like, oh, I love you, and let me tell you what, you know, my problem is. No, loving is about how do I feel about me when I show up in an energy that is disruptive or other people may find challenging, but I'm proud of how I showed up. I'm proud of how I stood up for myself. And in standing up for myself, I put in a healthy boundary that allows Spirit to bring me more of what I want that's going to make me happy. Because I'll say this, and no offense to Gemini, but I don't think Scorpio and Gemini go well together. And I'm using them as an example because Scorpio's like, let's dig deep. Let's have sex with the lights on, you know, let's like look at everything. And Gemini's like, let's have sex and let's go on to the party, you know. Gemini's, so they're not in a crazy way, but, you know, they're very social this way. So if you've been in a relationship that is somehow, or in a dynamic that is somehow not truly served the authenticity to who you are, then that's going to shift and it's going to be okay. Because Merlina, and I'm going to say this, I think Merlina is offering balance in love. You know, this particular deck represents confusion, but in the other deck, in this deck, Merlin offers balance and justice. And I can't help but look at Merlina and see all the indications, the yin and the yang, the two dolphins. There is no wizard that is ever going to be confused. Wizards rule magic. So to me, this is the lifting of any confusion. This is where Scorpio is using the illumination of this moon to really say, you know what? It's time for me to be in charge of my life. It's time for me to be powerful and to claim my happiness. And rather than look outside of myself and say, well, you're not making me happy, maybe I'm going to start to say, it's okay if you don't want to make me happy. I'm going to make me happy. So that's where we're going. All right. Let's go on to our Libras. Libra. Okay. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. What is your tarot card? The Fool. You know, I love the Fool. I got to tell you, because this is the very beginning of the soul's journey in the earthly experience. And very much, for me, it represents Mars, willing to take action, to move, to be pioneering. I'm not really looking where I'm going because I'm in such a hurry to get where I don't know where I want to go. But I also feel like this is an opportunity to have a sense of naivete, to have a sense of, I want to think of it this way. Pluto has been squaring Libra forever and a day, and I'm a late-born Libra, 23-degree Libra, 27-degree Mars in Libra. And, for a while there, I was just like, okay, Pluto, all right, should I just slip my wrist now, or are you going to do it for me? And you know what? Now that I've been aware of it, I actually feel very different. I feel as if, as we started the Pluto retrograde and we're going to go back over my ascendant. Did I mention my 26-degree Aries ascendant? I'm like, you know what? This is where the truth I just told you about my previous situation when I was holding myself small, that's what this is all about. So Libra, I kind of feel like it's time to, I don't want to leap off the cliff, but maybe it's time to leap off the cliff a little bit about your own happiness. Maybe it's time to start to look up to the sky and say, you know what? I matter. And while I enjoy being compromising and I enjoy fostering harmony and peace, if I'm not feeling that harmony and peace, am I really fostering harmony and peace? Let's see. Hello, Lucy Rose. Good to see you. Dusk, good to see you. Oh, geez. Butterfingers today. All right, Libra. Our first angel is Archangel Uriel. The second is Xana. I have to laugh. Aurora's third, and the final is Archangel Raphael. I share so much of my personal life with you guys, and it's not because I just am. I feel like this is how I relate to everybody. I feel like I'm a fabulously flawed human being. And when I look at Archangel Uriel, I can't help but laugh because I have been so frustrated lately. And I'm frustrated with things that I don't have to be frustrated about. It's that situation I was telling you before where, I didn't get noticed, I didn't get seen, and I got frustrated. But was it that person's fault or was it my fault? Well, let's see. Archangel Uriel's being joined by the love card. Xana's being joined by the partnership card. Aurora's being joined by the cat. And Archangel Raphael's being joined by the spider. Okay, I'm just going to die laughing right now because I feel like this is exactly for me. The Fool is about going where no man has gone before. And this is for you, Libra, for you all the way. It's for you to start to really contemplate your life without any parameters, without going, I have this much money in the bank and I know this many people and blah, 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 blah. Because the world is actually evolving so that each individual have a much more palatable and much more anchored and solid opportunity to birth themselves into the world, which is what the Fool's about. Now, it's time for you to stop being angry because partnerships have not worked for you. If you've tried to professionally, connect with someone and they're not responding to you, that may not be the partnership for you. And you inadvertently were holding yourself small because now it's time to move towards what you really love and not be frustrated. Because here is protection in partnership. And I started to laugh. I almost started to cry laughing because sometimes partnerships aren't bad for you, but they're not about your happiness. The other person may prosper more than you will. And you're being protected from connecting in something that doesn't actually serve you. Because Aurora is saying you're flying high right now. Don't descend into smallness, because you will soon inspire others by your example through your individuality, through who you are. And Libra, you will find a healing through your network of people, not just one individual. So this is what I want to offer. When I look at this, I feel like I'm looking at Libras who want to create art and beauty and Venusian things. And Venus and Chiron are in Aries, the sign of the pioneer, the sign of the brave one, the sign of the courage. So Libra, while Aries is the opposing sign to you, how could this energy actually serve you in some ways? Can you see that opposition and say, it's stretching me? I always think that the accesses are actually somehow in cooperation with one another. They're really not in opposition. It is a little bit of this and a little bit of that that creates the balance. So Libra, if you're frustrated because you can't pursue what you want and what you love, you might be holding yourself small by attaching yourself to someone you think can help you that really can't help you, that you would be more helping them. So as you give life to that idea, then spirit can come in, open a door for you, and then you'll start to feel the power of your own network coming together. This is another relationship card for me. So very powerful. So this ending of a cycle could very well be the ending of you holding yourself small and therefore getting passive aggressive and frustrated in relationships. God knows I can do that. Oh, did they, Shelley? But they weren't married. Your mom and your husband weren't married. So they could have a perfect relationship because your husband, if he was a Gemini, would have been very attentive to her socially, but she didn't need him to dig deep. And I don't know whether that's their suns or whether those are their rising signs or their moons. And I was just using that as a sort of an example of a more lighthearted energy being Gemini and Scorpio being like digging the deep one. All right, here we go. Virgo. We have the King of Pentacles here. This is a fun energy, very Taurian, and in Taurian, very Venusian. There's a lot of prosperity here. We see all the pomegranates, and we see this king looking off. It almost looks like he's ready to conquer his next situation, looking on to more prosperity. So 5 planets in Gemini. Wow. Wow. That's a lot. All right, let's look and see, Virgo. What is this Taurian energy? Because, again, the sun is still in Taurus. And when I think of Taurus, I think of my possessions. I think of my personal history. I think of my family history. I think about what I consider warm and cozy and lots of blankies and pillows and a good movie kind of idea. All right, here we go. Do we have a new person in the group? Nathan D. Welcome, Nathan D. Oops. All right, Virgo, let's see. Because there may be more bounty coming for you as well. There may be more, material wealth coming for you. Virgo, our first angel is Seraphina. The second is Layla. The third is Bridget. And the final is Bethany. All right. Seraphina is being joined by the king. Layla's being joined by the Lady of the Lake. Bridget's being joined by the Joy card. And Bethany is being joined by the Raven. Okay, I'm going to say something so weird to Virgo, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. But if you're in a state where you could buy a lottery ticket, I don't know why, but I feel like you might win something in the lottery. I don't know. It sounds kind of kooky to me. It doesn't feel like it's billions of dollars by any means, but it may be a little something. When I saw the king come up again and I saw Seraphina, I felt like obviously there's going to be some sort of change and some sort of balancing within I want to say the family within your mind. There used to be this show called Herman's Head. I don't know if you guys remember it, and all the different parts of his personality had characters up in his head. But I want to offer it this way too, because there's something feeling a settled feeling about material resources, or coming to a feeling where maybe Virgo is going to use their material resources that they've been saving or they've been taking care of to spend more time in enjoyment. Because Layla is asking you to spend time with your intentions. And then the Lady of the Lake is here. And I want to offer this because this ends with Bethany and self-care. So whatever you find fun and warm and fuzzy and fifth house enjoyable, I think is going to bring more material resources and bounty to you. Well, I got to say, Small, I think, a little buck here or there, who knows? I got to tell you, I have a client who years ago, this is probably like 5 years ago now, walked into my house and she said to me, "Oh, I won $200,000 in the second chance lottery." She buys scratchers. She had scratched it off. It wasn't a winner. She registered it online, and years later it was sitting in a drawer. And her husband goes, "Can we throw these out?" And she's like, "Leave my tickets alone." The next week she won that money, because for some reason, that's the way the King of Cups is coming to me. There's going to be some sort of more money or bounty or something solid that you can depend on materially. I've got the King and the happy change to the family. So this could have something to do with the work environment, but it feels, if it is the work environment, it could potentially be the calling on for a new work environment that would bring in more money. But it also feels like something comes from something frivolous. But I have to kind of stretch myself a little bit in order to get there. Because if you buy a lottery ticket with fear, or if you buy a lottery ticket thinking, "Oh, I'll never win," well, you won't win. So, but there's the Joy card. And I think that's what's up for Virgo. And I want to offer it this way, because depending upon your chart, we know that Neptune's at 24 degrees and Mars is at 23 degrees. So if you have that degree in opposition, then meaning if your sun, moon, or your rising is at that degree, you're having that opposition with Neptune and Mars. So this could be an opportunity for this lunar eclipse to remove the fog and the confusion so that you can start to implement things and take care of yourself, because it's time to take care of you. And I want to offer it this way, because being the sign of slavery, the sign of work and employment, the sign of health, if you have been deferring, "Oh, I need to get this done, I need to make sure I take care of that," then inadvertently you've been cutting off Spirit's opportunity to show you that they can bring you bounty without you having to work so hard at it. I love me a nap. I really do. And I know somebody else on this show that likes a nap too. And I think naps are very, very powerful tools for manifestation. Because the only time they let you take a nap in the human experience is when you're a little kid and you have no interest in taking a nap. Stupid. Kids should run around until they wear themselves out, and adults should take naps. Yes, Juan, I was talking about you. All right, are we ready? We're going on to our Leos. Okay, Leo, here you go. You ready? Breathe. We have the Five of Pentacles. Little bit of a challenging card, but I want to offer it this way. Mostly challenging because the solution is right here, and the characters are so caught up in their story that they can't see a solution. So this card represents, on the face of it, it represents rejection and ill health. Yes, it looks scary, but I want to offer it this way. There's a couple things going on. The woman character, she won't look up. She's afraid to look. She's like, oh no, the wind will scorch my face. And then the character on the crutches, he sees it, but he keeps walking. So to me, I think sometimes the solution isn't the solution we want, Leo. And that might be why we reject the solution. So let's see what Spirit has to say, because we know we are in a lunar eclipse this week. We know that this lunar eclipse is making an aspect, a sextile to Jupiter, which is life-changing events. We know that Neptune is involved in Mars, which is confusion. We know that Saturn's involved, which is heavy energy and fear. I'm on to Leo now. I finished Virgo. Okay. Let's see where this is coming in for Leo. Because if you're a Leo and you're experiencing that strong opposition to Saturn, that would be, 22 degree Leo, 24 degree, 23, 25, in that area, you may be feeling repressed. And so rather than trying to fight that, that's when you enjoy doing a little fifth house stuff and let the solution appear. Let's see. Fiona is in the Fiona's in the foundational position. Archangel Michael is in the Archangel Raphael is in the Angel's Advice. Crystal is in Archangel Raphael is in the opportunity or the obstacle. Crystal is in the Angel's Advice, and Serena is in the final position. The Five of Pentacles can represent a challenge within one's health. We know we've been going through a pandemic for quite some time. So let's see if this is health related to your physical health or stress and worry. Fiona is being joined by the Fire Fairy. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the Protection card. Crystal is being joined by the Serpent, and Serena is being joined by the Swan. I'm going to say this for my Leos, because if indeed you've been experiencing any sort of health challenge, I want to offer it this way. Something is going to be transformed as a result of it. And I think that this might be something where the information you gather as a result of the challenge is more valuable than the challenge was a problem. But it could be a couple of things, because Fiona is all about Spirit taking the reins. And now it's time to be optimistic and to be sort of have that Leo fiery energy of thinking that the universe is working for you. During the pandemic, or I should say before the pandemic, I was still in my 50s. I'm 62 now. I was feeling a heaviness in my chest. I'm an ex-smoker. And remember, my stepmother was here and I coughed and she was like, oh my God, you have emphysema like your father. And she kind of started to go down this road, and I could feel a heaviness in my chest. I'm sure I have effects of the cigarette smoke for years, but I stopped smoking. I started being aware of the nutrients I was putting in my body. I started to be aware of the effects of some of the things like dairy and alcohol. And in doing so, I started making small changes, because Archangel Raphael is offering an epiphany. This is health related, and there's protection. Now I have the Serpent, which is also health related, and Crystal saying there's more on the horizon. And I have this as being health related. In the final position, I have Serena and the Swan. I want to offer it this way. This for Leo, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. If you've been challenged with any sort of health issue, or you've had challenges with money, and I'm going to say straight up money, then now a time is to stop focusing on the worry. If it's been a health challenge, focus in on the nutrients with which you're feeding your body. Because if you're eating a salad with, gobs of ranch dressing, the ranch dressing might be negating all the nutrients in the salad. But If it is a financial issue, because Serena is all about money, something is transforming in a huge way. And I want to offer it this way because this lunar eclipse is going to create bring up some sort of hidden knowledge. Now we look at Chiron and Venus being in Aries conjunct. Venus rules money. So there may be something that comes up that has to do with money or has to do with the way you've been making money. And if you were trying to push the story forward, you would kind of be chasing the hamster wheel because you need to wait for spirit to give you that illumination. And it's your job not to sit in a pity party or into too much of the things don't work for me. It's not working for me. Because I think there's a couple things going on. There's number one, it feels as if there's something about, Leo's a fixed sign as well. Leo rules the zodiac. And maybe you have been such a leader that you haven't allowed spirit to lead you. And so if there's been that opposition with Saturn and you've been feeling repressed or restricted, this may be an opportunity during this eclipse for an illumination. Oh, it wasn't my turn to take action. My turn was to start to trust an intuitive body and to sit in serenity. So many of us that are walking a conscious life path where we are trying to intentionally choose and create through the powers of the laws of attraction get to understand where our resistance is. And that is part of the manifestation journey, is to put an intention out to the universe and then to relax as we are inspired into action. The human is not taught to relax or to be serene. We have got to work hard, pound the pavement. And in doing so, we may feel a constant sense of rejection. So serenity will bring protection, will be illuminated through some sort of inspiration, and there will be a hindsight. Remember, we're in a Mercury retrograde as well. So if you're trying to push a story forward and you're not getting people to respond to you, or they're not, replying to your communications, don't worry about it, because the answer might be better on the backside than it would have been now. All right, let's go on to our Cancers. Get this show on the road. Relaxing and napping is not lazy. If you look at the animal kingdom, they spend 3/4 of their life napping. And they're just fine. Humans are they're so fakosh, I swear. They're just like bass awkward. Okay. Our tarot card for our Cancers is the Seven of Cups. Oh, I know you are, Lucy. I know you are. I got it. I want to offer this Seven of Cups as a challenging energy for me because everything feels like a double-edged sword. And the character within this card is confused. He's still sitting in the dark. I most of the time I focus in on the cup that has the victory wreath and then the skull, because it seems to most clearly depict that, if there's victory, someone must die. So Cancer, there could be this situation that this this full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio reveals something that has a good news, bad news feeling about it. Let's see what we're looking at here. Our first angel for Cancer is Bridget. The second is Yvonne. The third is Shanti. And the final is Opal. Bridget's being joined by the movement card. Yvonne is being joined by the cat. Bridget's being joined by the fear card. And Opal is being joined by the queen. All right. So I know we're not all of childbearing years, but I'm going to start here because this comes very clearly to me. If indeed you are a Cancer who wants to get married, wants to have children, wants to start those markers in life, I feel as if it is your opportunity to start to think of things from a different perception, meaning this, because I feel like if you look into your story, maybe every potential opportunity wasn't as good as it seemed to be because spirit is moving things for you. And I don't think there's the movement card and there's Bridget asking you to look deeper. I believe that this is about those big markers, either having children, finding your mate, moving your story forward in that direction. And I want to offer it this way, because in the final position, I have Opal and the Queen, which are both about fertility. Opal is about God and the angels watching over the souls of your children before they incarnate. And there's the Queen. The Queen represents fertility, feminine energy. So I'm going to start with my Cancers. If that's what you want, you're worried that that's not going to happen. You're clicking every period off as your eggs are dying. That is not helping your case. And if you're a guy or whatever, I hate to even categorize genders anymore, but if you're having that same I only date crazy girls or it's not happening for me, that focus is messing you up, because now is a time to be vulnerable to the idea that there's a new life coming, and that maybe if you had gotten what you thought you wanted, it would not have created the peace and the love that you wanted in your home life, because your fear is interrupting God's potential to give you what it is you want in this direction. The first thing I thought of is the first year I was on Lotta's channel, I gave away some readings, and a woman won one of them, and she had been going through fertility and she had not been successful. And it was a very, very painful journey for her. And I told her that she was going to have a child. I told her, she came to me during a Mercury retrograde in September and said, should I plant one of 2 eggs? And I was like, Spirit says yes. But she surrendered somehow. She heard the truth. It wasn't me. And in doing so, her baby just turned 2 years old or 3 years old. And she's pregnant with her second child. There's something going on for Cancer where you've got to stop looking at the dark side. You've got to stop looking at loss. You've got to stop sort of doing the crab crawl sideways and start to think that you've been dodging a bullet. Spirit is doing something for you that's much bigger. Because again, I think the souls that have chosen to incarnate during these once every 200-year aspects, they're here for a big reason. And maybe you don't want to have a kid with a big reason, or your kid doesn't want to come in with all that nonsense. And so when you relax, I also have a client who was just found out, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, I found out that she's pregnant. And I texted her and congratulated her. And she said, I'm old and scared. I said, stop. Don't feel old. Feel excited that you get to represent for all the women that think they're old and they're not. All right. Now, let's go to the Cancers that are not of childbearing years. If indeed you've wanted to birth something from your soul, something from the depths of your own creative body, then it is time for you to really look deeper into the viability. Were there circumstances that were not viable right now? Because there is circumstances that are coming up that are going to move out of the way that will allow you the synchronicity to move the story forward, to feel that sense that there's a new life coming. And my job is to be vulnerable during that period of time. And my job is to ask Spirit to change my fear and to face everything and rise. Allow me the ability to identify false evidence as appearing real. Because the false evidence is when we are not manifesting what we want, that we are not powerful co-creators. And when we can align, and this is where it gets tricky, because aligning to an experience we've never had feels a little bit counterintuitive. It feels impossible. But aligning to the possibilities of it and then engaging Spirit to be our co-creators. Give me that experience so that I can truly anchor in my emotional body. And in doing that, mountains are moved. And then you really are of service to others, because then they go, how did you do that? I want that. And you say, I didn't do it. I invited it in. And then I stood in belief of it and in reception of it and in the fertility that can happen. All right. Let's go on to our Geminis. Woo. Bye, Shelley. Have a great week. All right. Our tarot card for our Geminis is the Four of Pentacles. Now, this is an interesting energy because this is not one of poverty. It's a little bit of a hoarding energy. You know, this, if you look at this guy, he's got a crown on. He's wearing the garb of a royal, and yet he's holding on to his money very tightly. So this is not such a great energy in the sense of for manifesting. You can't manifest when you're holding on to what you have too tightly. So let's see what this is. Because if you're holding on to a job that pays you $5 an hour and you're afraid to go look for a job that will pay you 10 because you'll lose the $5 an hour job, that may be the issue. Bethany is our first angel. The second is Archangel Gabriel. The third is Crystal. And the final is Mystique. Welcome, Arthur Space. All right, Gemini, Bethany is telling you to take care of yourself. Joining Bethany is the Serpent, an opportunity for a new skin through knowledge and healing. Archangel Gabriel's being joined by the Lady of the Lake. Crystal's being joined by the Letting Go card. And Mystique is being joined by the Cat. All right, this is what I want to say. And I don't know why, but I'm going to tell you. Okay, so for years and years and years, I wanted to be Teri, but Teri didn't know how to be Teri because there was no such thing as Teri. There was no internet. There was no YouTube. There was no anything, barely MySpace. So I would get in the shower to go to my jobs, hating going to my jobs. And I'd be like, I am a harmoniously wealthy, financially free, spiritual healer and teacher. All of my needs are met and provided for at every moment. Money comes to me easily and often. And I would say this every single day. I got to tell you, I haven't said it in years. That's why I could barely remember it. But I think that's what's going on for Gemini. I don't think this is about running out and taking action, but where have you inadvertently been hoarding in your life? Your own, I don't even know if it's money, but you may be afraid to make a move for fear of losing what you already have. And Spirit is saying it's time for you to shed that skin and really take care of yourself, Gemini, because Archangel Gabriel is talking about giving your insecurities over to her as you step into your truth and lightly hold on to that sword. You know, before I was Teri, I did vision boards and I would, come home and drink wine and then dance to, Unwritten and all these wild songs. I'm going to be me someday. And something I never thought about once I got to be me, that there would ever be bad days or challenges that way. And so everything has its double-edged sword. So if I'm going to be in a double-edged sword, I want to be in my double-edged sword, because now is a time for you to let go of that fear, to move away from that fear and to trust a bigger picture. Something's coming. So let's just think. We've got the Mercury retrograde that's in Gemini, then it's going to go into Taurus. Taurus rules our money, because I think there's an opportunity for you to be more independent. And now your job is to go through the process, not of trying to find a new situation, but of finding the thought process that allows the new situation to be birthed. How has Gemini been sticking themselves in a situation because they've been focusing in on what they don't, what the dangers are, what could be the potential pitfalls of stretching yourself out here? And rather than trying to stretch yourself out here, you invite Spirit to give you an experience that opens the door, and then you're willing to be brave and walk through that door. And then you'll see a new life coming up, not just because you shed a skin, but because you are brave enough to step out independently. And if you think about the cat, it's not particularly emotional in comparison to a dog. So you might have to be just slightly not emotional about what you're doing in the sense of if you disappoint somebody else. Too bad. Your happiness is important. Okay, let's go on to our Tauruses. What is our tarot card? The Nine of Wands. Okay, guys, this is a defensive energy, no doubt. This guy's been wounded. He knows it, and he's still on guard. And I think the one thing that he kind of misses is that there's been new growth. Even though he's been through a battle, he somehow has survived it. And it's important for him not to look for the boogie guy anymore, but to look and see. Each one of these wands has new growth. So let's see where the potential for new growth is. You know, being a Taurus moon, when my feelings get hurt, oh my goodness. It's like I'm so over it. Oh, meaning I'm so over my own brain going, you've done me wrong. You've done me wrong. You've done me wrong. Some of those people, if they hadn't done me wrong, I wouldn't have done me right. And that's what we have to start to consider. Sometimes those challenging influences, those negative people actually are the very seedling, the impetus, the rocket fuel for our desires. Daniel, the angel of marriage and history. Ariel is in the second position. Francesca is in the third position. And Archangel Gabriel is in the final position. Daniel's the angel of marriage and partnership, but also the angel of history, our personal history, and how we take it with us from one place to another. And inadvertently, we guard ourselves. Taurus, Daniel is asking you to be creative and optimistic within your partnerships. Ariel is saying it's time to make a new choice. Francesca is saying it's time for a rebirth. And Archangel Gabriel is saying is being joined by the Let It Go card. All right, so here I go back to my own sense of history and sense of my story, because I want to offer this. For my Tauruses, you have Uranus transiting, you have the nodes transiting right now, the North Node going through your sign. I think Daniel, the angel of marriage, is asking you to give up your history and relationships and partnerships and start to be more optimistic, to start to think about you have the ability to guard yourself, but do you need to walk around guarded all the time? Because Spirit is asking you to make a new choice based on your own spiritual evolution and to look sometimes at how something negative actually is the very, as I said earlier, the rocket fuel for change. Because Francesca talks about negativity and blocking our progress, but there's the birth and the rebirth card. So I do think there's the potential that something that appeared negative is actually something that's going to end up being very positive as you embrace that and you move forward. Because Archangel Gabriel is working with you with your network. This is very Geminian to me. This is very much about my neighborhoods, my community, and also about letting go of any insecurities that I have, because this letting go card is about fear. And I want to offer it this way, because as a Taurus, you may be guarding against something that's happened to you in the past. But if you are brave enough, you can take that fixed energy and you can turn it around to say, I don't need to protect myself, because if I feel that coming, I'm going to act on it. And that's where I think the real letting go comes in. The real power comes in. That's where fear is transformed. That's where my history works for me and not against me. And I want to offer it this way, because with the North Node transiting at the 25th degree, I believe that is the Aryan degree. And as that being the Aryan degree, it is time to be brave into your own willingness to see if your concentration on your history has actually inadvertently co-created that history over and over and over again. If we're really brave, we'll see that the common denominator in most of the situations we experience is ourselves. And rather than sit in judgment and shame about it, we can just transform that and say, well, I don't need to do that anymore. Been there, done that. All right, let's go on to our Aries, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our tarot card is the Knight of Wands. This is a fun card. This is the, this is galloping towards inspiration. This is, I mean, I see that feather, that red feather, and I feel like there's joy attached to this. There's a sense of excitement. I believe it's a salamander. I think it's a salamander. And I think that's, again, transformation, the salamander. So I want to offer this because this lunar eclipse could very well bring to Aries this sense of, I guess the best way for me to explain it is that when I realized that my 26 degrees Aries rising was going to be living around Pluto for years, I became fascinated with Pluto. Well, let's see what Pluto wants me to know. And when I started to connect with the idea that Pluto didn't want to kill me, Pluto wanted to rip away the lies I tell myself, how I hold myself small, and to truly require me to put my money where my mouth is. So if I'm going to stand as a leader, then I get to actually be in a leadership energy. And that is being able to pull the wisdom out of something distasteful. Wisdom, courage, bravery never happen in effortless environments. They happen under stress. It happens under duress. It happens when we're pacing a hospital ward, hoping our loved one will survive, or when we're walking into war. So I think this is really about being brave in your transformation, being brave in looking at the aspects of your own chart, Aries, and saying, am I going to succumb to these, or am I going to rise like the phoenix? Our first angel for Aries is Archangel Raphael, offering an epiphany. There's Crystal saying, have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon. There's Rochelle saying to follow your heart. And Fiona saying that God has the baton. God and the angels, source energy. We have to remember that when we put an intention out to the universe starts to move things around in order to fill that. Moving it around does not mean that it's happened. It's still in process. All right. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the High Priestess. Crystal's being joined by the Perception card. Rochelle's being joined by the Forgiveness card. And Fiona's being joined by the Wealth card. Wow. All right, my Aries, you're action oriented. You are, Mars ruled. And yet here we see, all of a sudden, I see this epiphany. Archangel Raphael's arms are open. And I believe that part of what this Knight of Wands is connecting to the other side. Realizing, if we think about Aries as the warrior, this is a warrior who's acting on inspiration through his connection to spirit. I almost think of it as the Knight Templar or the Order of Christ, one of those energies where it's a noble cause, because now is time for Aries to really have faith in something beyond what they can see and what they know with their perception. Because as you follow your heart, the reconciliation comes in. This is the thing I like the most about me, and the thing that most people hate the most. And yes, 145 Club, Jupiter has entered Aries. It's at 0 degrees and it's sitting on my south node at 3 degrees Aries. I know more than anything that I'm brave at following my heart. I've fallen down, I've scraped my knees, I've embarrassed myself in front of others, but I live a life like so authentically my own that I've experienced a lot of rejection as a result of it. But now I want to experience wealth, harmonious wealth, and God and the angels are bringing that. So I want to offer for Aries, whatever's going on during this eclipse, and if for some reason it brings some distasteful energies or some information that, really does bring the end of a cycle, allowing yourself to surrender to that ending and allowing yourself the wisdom of a new inspiration from spirit will then send you on a new course that I think is going to feel fabulous and amazing. And I guess, in conclusion, I kind of want to say it this way. I mentioned earlier, being on Lotto's channel, and for months, Lotta and I talked about doing a video together, and one thing after another didn't happen. And she had one calamity, another calamity. I one time said, I canceled because I got a new computer. But at the end of the day, and knowing how the last 6 months has played out, I feel as if Spirit was protecting me beyond my own knowing, and also reminding me of something about myself that I didn't know before. And it wasn't to take away from her and her influence, but rather I wasn't allowing myself to be all I could be, to be as connected and as intuitive in my connection to Spirit. So now that I have now decided to own me exclusively, Spirit can bring in all that I've called forth. So allowing Jupiter to do what it does, being brave as you look at Venus and Chiron sitting in Aries together, asking about your self-worth and what you believe about your ability to make money. Because that's what I think I was afraid of. I needed somebody else. But the truth of the matter is I've always been most successful when I was trusting my own path. All right. So that's it for this week, guys. Again, if you want more in depth on the actual lunar eclipse and the Mercury retrograde, I did a separate video. It is by rising sign. I'll be back next Sunday. And I'm going to bring back word vibration of the week. I've had a little bit of challenges with construction beneath my apartment. And so I'm trying to figure out ways to do videos around the construction. I was really busy, and then they started the solar eclipse hit. My neighbor was evicted, and then the construction started. And now we have this other eclipse. So hopefully that'll wrap itself up. All right, everybody. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an angel therapy practitioner, intuitive astrologer, Reiki master, and empowerment coach. If you'd like to book a reading with me, my information is below. I am available. I'll see y'all next Sunday. For now, it's peace out.